You're listening to TJ's One of Us for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANY Podcast. You can also find us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, my lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TJ's One of Us here at the Always Next Year Podcast. I'm your host, Shane. I'm joined by Scott, one of our newest Sixers analysts here. Scott, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Sitting out here in California. Pumped to talk a little bit of Sixers game here.
I like how each of your now 3 episodes on, you have made it known that you are on a beach somewhere. Thank you.
Yes, I like to be the heel a little bit there, and
it works.
If I'm going to be out here in California paying out the ass in taxes and for rent, I need everyone to know about it. So
that's fair. I, on the other hand, watched your current home city's team lose to our Philadelphia Phillies today in an every other minute downpour of rain, and it was still awesome. So enjoy that fucking beach. I appreciate it. You just continue to enjoy that weather. You deserve to pay those taxes.
Yeah, we do. And for what it's worth, I tried to stir up a little controversy in the office today, talk some shit to Dodgers fans, and they all just kind of brushed me off.
Because they don't really exist.
Yeah, I have a couple, diehard Dodgers fans
that
I'm close with out here, but even those guys were like, yeah, you can have 2 games. We don't give a shit. Like we're gonna win like 100 games. It's fine.
I would not be that way. Like I'm being from Philadelphia, you also being from the Philadelphia area. 2 of 4, no, doesn't work for us. I'm sorry, that still pisses us off.
I agree.
Despite the fact that, again, LA is one of the best teams I've watched in a decade. They are absurdly good.
They are,
But we are going to talk Sixers basketball. You actually made my life significantly easier this week by sending me a bunch of random short topics and just kind of off the beat topics that we'll get into in a little bit. But let's start off with the first thing. For the biggest piece, really the only piece of news since the first few days of free agency kind of calmed down, is the fact that the 76ers do get Ben Simmons' max extension done. I am on the side that says this is fantastic, and even though in theory right now it's an overpay, by year 2, 3 at the latest, it's going to look fucking brilliant. What's your stance on Ben Simmons? I think you and I are fairly similar.
I'm from the belief that not only is it a positive thing, it's a must do, because if you don't sign Ben Simmons and he gets a little bit unhappy for whatever reason, the state of the NBA right now is that anyone will leave and go to any other city at the drop of a hat. So we got to keep our boy happy. We got to show him that we're fully invested in him, and we believe that he can be a top 10 player in the NBA for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, for his life. So it's a necessity. We have to do it. You can sit here and, like you said, talk about how it's an overpay. It's not. It's what you have to pay someone.
Correct. Yeah, I could not agree more. And one of the other things, and this is one that I see all over Twitter right now, is the impact that decision potentially would have had on Jimmy Butler. Was this, we're bringing back one of Jimmy or Toby? Who do Ben and Joel want to play with? I genuinely think Joel would play with fucking anyone. I don't really think he cares. Ben Simmons, on the other hand, I actually think probably does prefer Tobias, which is kind of the vibe that we got all across Twitter arguments and things of that sort. Do you liken the Jimmy Butler thing having to do anything with Ben Simmons in this particular facet, or do you think that this was Jimmy Butler saying, you know what, I need to be the guy, I'm going to Miami?
I think Jimmy Butler does whatever the hell Jimmy Butler wants to do. To say that like the Sixers didn't want him probably isn't fair. I agree with you. Ben Simmons definitely wasn't his best self and isn't worth a $170 million contract if you're going to have Jimmy Butler do a giant deal as well. And that was one of the concerns I had, was you keep Jimmy Butler and you lose Ben Simmons, which is definitely not how we want things to go. I think all in all that Ben Simmons is going to be much happier this year than he was at the end of last year. He's got his contract, he's decided that he's going all in on the Sixers. He's not playing in the World Cup of basketball or whatever it is for Team Australia. Like, he's on board with the Sixers. They're on board with him. It's a great mutual partnership, and hopefully it pays off.
I think it will. I think one of the biggest things last year, and I mean, you said it, he was obviously not himself, but to me, I felt like there was no room for him to grow into who he was supposed to be with a personality like Jimmy Butler there. And especially with Jimmy Butler being there on what we knew was going to be a half a season thing. This was essentially, without being Jimmy Butler's team last year, because it wasn't, it was kind of Jimmy Butler's team. This was, you have half a season with me. Let's fucking win a championship or let's not. And I feel like that doesn't really allow for a player like Ben Simmons, who needs to be, at this point, honestly, a volume shooter to find out what the hell he is comfortable with. I mean, he's out there with grippy gloves right now to teach him how to shoot a basketball. That's impossible to me, but he is. And like, this season is going to allow for that opportunity, and this contract is going to allow for that opportunity out of necessity, as you said, in ways that he would not have had with Jimmy Butler alongside him.
Yeah, what it comes down to as well is Ben Simmons has been in the league for 3 years. He's played 2 years. He is still growing as a player. He's still growing as a person. So if you tell someone that's growing and you want them to be a star in the NBA, people are so impatient nowadays that he's not going to sit around for 5 years and take less money to stay in the city. He's going to leave. That's plain and simple. So if you're stunning his growth and, someone comes along and says, hey, Jimmy, you can be the man over here, or Ben, excuse me, you can be the man over here, he's going to take that opportunity. So we need to kiss his ass a little bit. And, I think we're making the right move. We're better off for all this.
I 100% agree. And the fact that he's younger, he is, to me, a far more talented player in terms of upside and what the remainder of his career is going to be. And pairing him and Joel together, that had to have been plan A. That needed to be plan A for anyone within the 76ers organization. And anyone else that was going to come along needed to kind of be okay being, that third option. And Tobias Harris is being paid very handsomely for a third option on a very, very good basketball team. So let's go into some summer league, but before we get back to some Ben Simmons talking a little bit, did you get an opportunity to watch any summer league or see any summer league highlights?
I got to see some highlights. I got to watch a little bit of it. It was, over July 4th week when everyone's running around a little bit crazy, but I always try to take some time to watch the Sixers. Our boy Zhaire was awesome.
Freak.
Everything we wanted him to be, and he looks great. He looks healthy. He's jumping all over the fucking court, going crazy. He's got to be the highlight of summer league for me, and nothing put a bigger smile on my face than seeing a couple highlights of him throwing down crazy dunks and running the offense and doing whatever he wants to do. That was huge for me.
Yeah, for me with Zhaire, especially for the fact that this is coming from someone who is pegging him to be a future top 7 player in the NBA. I needed some reinforcement that my prediction that is completely out of nowhere has even a shred of possibility. And Summer League gave that to me. I needed that. A big part of last year was the fact that he, obviously being as sick as he was, just honestly nearly dying, losing all of that weight. He needed to rebuild his entire body in an off season while also regaining some just standard basketball skill. And I think the one thing that impressed me most was his instinct and confidence. on the basketball court, especially on the defensive end, he and Matisse both are incredibly handsy out there in like a totally non-sexual way with the basketball and just getting in passing lanes and kind of filling that Rocco-esque type of role around the perimeter. And they just created so much fast-paced and exciting basketball and exciting offense. And you saw it was highlight reel after highlight reel with Zhaire. And he was a guy who looked like he was out there having a ton of fun. And that was huge for me. So Zhaire, future top 7 player in the NBA, according to me. Over the last couple months, I've been saying this to anyone who will listen. Steal of that draft. Matisse Thybulle, it was another one. So one of the things that I probably impressed me most is the fact that he was said to not really be a great 3-point shooter. And he came out and said, I don't know why people say that. In Washington, the offense wasn't really built around me to be this. It doesn't mean I can't. And he showed that. He shot above average, or what worked out to be an above average 3-point percentage over the course of summer league. He had a quick release. He looked smooth. And for a guy who's going to come off the bench and, be asked to be more than just hands on the defensive side and getting in those passing lanes, that's big. We're replacing a JJ Redick, and we literally didn't have another shooter outside of Tobias Harris on the team. So the fact that he was able to show even a sliver of potential there was really important to me. Did you get a chance to watch any Matisse Thybulle highlights?
I did, and I'm actually going to say he was the biggest surprise and the biggest upside of all of summer league for a lot of the reasons you just said. We expect nothing from this guy. Like, he's going to be like the last guy on the bench. If he comes in and plays 10, 20 minutes a game or whatever, it'd be huge, and it's all learning experience, right? Like, if he falls into space, we're not really worse off for it. It's not a big deal. But he came out and showed right away, like, hey, I'm here to play. I'm absolutely an NBA-ready player. Granted, this is summer league, right? He's playing with scrubs and other rookies, but he looks like the better player on the court. It was him and Zhaire a lot of the time running stuff around, playing great defense, being athletic, being long as shit like we need on our team. And he shot great. Like, you brought up too, hey, JJ Redick's gone. We don't have a major 3-point shooter, and if Thybulle wants to hop in there and take that role, let him, right? Like, Kawhi Leonard learned how to shoot 3-pointers. Like, maybe Thybulle will be that guy.
You can't compare him to Kawhi. I'm already comparing Zhaire. Pick another fucking NBA player.
That's not a comparison. That's more of just a credit to Kawhi Leonard, teaching himself how to shoot 3-pointers. So I think it can be done. But
so some of the other guys here, before we get to the last guy that I'll bring up, Marial Shayok surprised the hell out of me. He is forever going to win the Tyrone Hill Phillies Ugliest Athlete Award. That's a damn shame, because when you're sitting there and you're looking at Matisse and you're looking at Zhaire, two very handsome men out there, and you get to Marial and you're like, damn, what happened, man? And he's just out there with the smoothest stroke of anyone. His 3-ball, to me, I'm pretty sure he was awarded a 2-way contract, not an actual roster spot.
He was.
Okay. That's dumb. He really should have just been a roster spot. He was that smooth, and he was that lights out of a shooter for me. And he flashed some talent, outside of just the shot. But the calling card for him when we drafted him and for our expectation going into Summer League was the shot. And he was able to sit there and prove that to be true. So anything else you got was bonus, which is why he stuck out so much to me. For you, Marial Shayok, over under, let's set it at 35.5 games for the Sixers. Where do you see him falling this year?
I see over, to be perfectly honest. Just because, similar to how we were just talking about Thybulle, like, there's no expectation for the guy, right? Like, we're in the great luxury this year where, like, we probably won't have to be signing a bunch of 10-day contracts and taking out weird chances on random
No more
guys.
Corey
like,
Brewer and those forever highlights against James Harden. Hilarious.
Yeah, like, we shouldn't have to do that stuff anymore. Let's invest in some young guys. Like, stop sending them to fucking Delaware and let him screw around there. I mean, I'm sure it's fun for him to play like that, but let's let him get embarrassed a little bit on the NBA floor, out of his comfort zone, put him in a couple weird spots, and like let him grow as a player. I think he's got a lot of upside, and the shooting is huge as well. Like maybe he'll make a couple big shots. I mean, again, I don't expect really anything from him, but I expect him to play more than 35 games.
Yeah, I would take the over on that one as well, but I think that it'll kind of come in wave. I think that he'll get a game or two, and he'll sit there and he'll fall back and be, kind of forgotten on the bench again. Go back down to Delaware. He'll get hot. We'll realize, shit, we need someone who can shoot a basketball since the entire team fucking doesn't. And we'll bring him back, and it'll be, again, a few games of him, and won't make too much of an impact. He'll be sent back down. And he'll come back up, and then I think that third call up for him, he's going to pretty much be a mainstay, and someone who again, becomes our kind of a second half 3-point shooting option. And credit to him, man, for going out there and balling out that way, because I honestly had no expectations whatsoever. From a big perspective here, we have Norvel Pelle, who for me was the absolute funniest man on the court during the entirety of Summer League. This man had entirely too much personality. And I say that in like the most endearing way possible. There were times where he was like flat, like you remember Coach Carter?
Yeah. Love that movie.
Exactly. Where he's sitting there and they're all starting to pose because they're realizing there's something. And Samuel L. Jackson flips the hell out and says, "Get your ass back down on defense." Like, that was Summer League for Norvel Pelle. This man had dunk after dunk, highlight reel type of dunk after highlight reel type of dunk, and he just posed looking like an asshole. And it was so funny, but just, again, so endearing. The thing for me is, obviously, Joel Embiid is going to, we think, 65 games this year, 60, 65 games. He'll play by design. I'm not saying he's getting hurt. Al Horford's going to, be there at the 5. And then we have O'Quinn. That's 3 basically centers. One of them has the ability to play power forward and will play power forward a lot in Al Horford. My whole thing is, if Norvel Pelle was going to really make an impact, that was going to kind of spell the end of Jonah Bolden, who frustrates the hell out of me. But Jonah Bolden has, of the 2 of them, or 3 of them if you want to include O'Quinn, is the only one that really can play the 4. So I actually think Jonah is going to be safe, which doesn't really work out well for Norvel Pelle. But just for humor's sake, where do you see his impact on the 76ers roster this year, if at all?
I see him fitting in very similar to how you just said. I mean, Embiid, I actually don't even want to see him play 65 games. I'd like to see him play 60 games in the regular season. In limited minutes, just resting almost to a fault, right? He's not going to do that. He's too proud of a guy. He's not going to sit out that much. But because of that, we do need bodies out there. Norvel Pelle has my favorite stat of all of Summer League. He committed 5 fouls a game in limited Summer League games.
He fouled out twice.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You can't do that. But he's got so much personality. People love him. Granted, there's so much hype around the team already in the city. We don't need the personality, but you can never go wrong with it. I don't see a huge impact out of it aside from him just being a body out there on the court, maybe roughing some guys up, taking up some minutes. But yeah, I'm very much okay with that. He's another 2-way contract guy, so I mean he could be splitting D-League time and putting in some minutes there and improving, and hopefully we'll get to see him in Summer League again next year if he's even allowed. I think you're allowed to play 3 years, right?
3, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, look, he is incredibly, incredibly entertaining. And for me, it's exactly what you said. The fact that, like I said, I have never, I don't think I've watched Summer League games in its entirety. I always sit there and watch 15 minutes here, go do whatever, come back, watch another 15 minutes. I'm like, hey, that guy's good. Or, hey, I'm a Sixers fan. None of my players are healthy. There's no reason to be here. But I was like, he recorded his 9th foul in one game in 14 minutes of play. And I was like, how the fuck is that even possible? And I was almost angry until I remembered, no, I had entirely too much fun 2 days ago watching him play. For me, he is the perfect candidate as to why the D-League is a good thing. He's going to have the ability to sit there and be coached in ways that Jonah Bolden clearly did not learn at all as a human playing basketball. Hopefully Norvel Pelle is more coachable than him, and he can go down there and kind of refine some of that stuff and find some discipline on the defensive side of the court, because he is long. He can block a lot of shots. He is active on the boards, and he is super, super fun in the low post there, on the offensive side of the court. So he's someone who I honestly can't wait to get to the NBA for his 3.5 minutes a night. I'm buying his jersey. I don't even give a shit.
That's a great jersey to have.
For sure. Yeah. In the realm of useless jerseys of forgotten players, which he will probably be, this is going to be one that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy. So let's get to our last guy before we move into some of your topics here. My biggest disappointment for the Sixers on Summer League, Shake. Yep. He's a guy that we're both very high on, and in a Summer League action that was kind of built to be that last, like, hey, we think that you can be the true number 2, point guard to Ben and be a guard that can play with Ben Simmons. And yes, we got Raul Neto, how he wants us to say his name. But we expect this to be you. And he was a volume shooter, man. That was like Rondo-esque in terms of his shot. It looked bad. How are you feeling about your Shake comments, man? You still thinking he's the solid number 2 behind Ben?
No. In typical Philadelphia fashion, I'm pressing the panic button early on this one. I'm real disappointed in Shake. I thought he was going to go out and show some real maturity, because that's kind of what we need from him. And he didn't. He was scared to shoot. He looked awful from 3. Just kind of looked a little lost. One of the things that I had brought up about, or looked up about him, was that was the concern on him initially when he was at the draft combine, was that he wasn't physical enough and he was tentative. That's not what we saw in the D-League last year, so I thought it was all a farce, but it came back again. Maybe it's nerves a little bit, but I'm worried about my boy Shake. I don't know, man.
To me, it looked like he was genuinely just pressing. Like, to me, he looked like that kid at recess that everyone hated. That was like, I'm like a tick better than all of you guys, and I'm going to have to prove it every time my hands are on the basketball. And I felt like he was taking shots that weren't there to prove that he can, and that's wrong, versus trying to make smart plays and finding and creating shots that made sense for him. I would much rather him, knock down the shots from the spots that he feels 100% confident in, rather than saying, hey, look, I've added 4 more shot areas to my chart. I don't need that right now from a backup point guard. I need you to be really good at what you're good at, and then we'll worry about the rest. And he came in with what seems to be the exact opposite attitude, which to me, I'm not quite as panicked as you are. I genuinely think that he's going to have a lot of minutes early on this year while we can. And I think he'll kind of phase out. And then I think they'll phase him back in that second half of the season to the rotation there. Because I do believe in Neto. Like, I think that he's an average enough guard to have there. And I do think he's going to put some pressure on Shake to be coachable and to, again, do the things that he's supposed to do and not more. And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
that to me is fine.
I agree. That's basically what we need out of the bench this year, is do what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, don't take any lessons from the Phillies bullpen right now and do the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. Just go in, put your minutes in. We don't need you to put up a crazy positive, but we also can't have you put up a crazy negative. Just go in there, suck time up, let everyone rest a little bit. Maybe have a couple clutch games here and there. And that is exactly what we need from Shake. So, I mean, I'm saying a little tongue-in-cheek, putting the panic button on, or pressing the panic button right now. But, hey, we need the guy to show up. We gave him a contract. We're betting on him. So I think he'll be fine as well. But, it's a warning. It's a warning from me, Shake. I mean, obviously you're listening to our podcast, but
why wouldn't he?
Yeah, right. He's going to be super influenced by this, but step up your game a little bit, buddy. I'm betting on you here.
Scott is the one who's going to buy your jersey, Shake. I'm going to sit there with the Norvell Pell, but I'm going to get the Norvell Pell jersey with his entire name on it just for fun. All right. So let's get into some of these kind of off the beat questions here. You brought a bunch of these to us, which is great. We talked a little bit before getting on here. I was originally just running the Phillies program here at AMYP, and Kevin, our Sixers guy, has moved on to doing movie podcasts and reviews. And by the way, if you like movies, which you all do, you should all follow Kevin. He's a great guy. His Twitter handle is at Kevman316. It was taking me a minute, but I got there. Definitely give him a follow. He paid me for that ad spot, by the way, so I need you guys to follow him. But you kind of helped me out here in a week where we're sitting here and acquiring more and more writers for AMYP. I had not yet put together a Sixers show for the week, so you did that for me. So we're going to run into some of these things. So one of the first things we'll get to is biggest storyline going into the season. In a season that we've seen mass change across the NBA, big names changing, powerhouses getting even stronger. For you, Scott, what is the storyline that you are most excited about following this NBA season?
I won't say it's one I'm most excited about, but I will say it's one I'm most nervous about, and it's Brett Brown. He's on the hot seat. People are coming for our man, and he needs this team to do well. I think they will, but there's so much pressure on him to perform and keep up this, front in the clubhouse and lead the team effectively, not call garbage timeouts or mismanage the clock later down the road in games. We need him to show up this year, and that's something I'm going to be following all year, very, very nervously. We need Brett Brown this year. It's nut up or shut up time for him. So
yeah, this year is terrible. And if I'm Brett Brown, I am honestly a little terrified. Like, I'm excited to an extent because this is genuinely the most complete roster that he can kind of see beyond, 2 weeks with. Like, there was never certainty at any point during his tenure as to who was going to be in his starting lineup or if he was going to have enough playable NBA players for a rotation or to actually have rotations. So this is huge for him to see how he's going to now manage an actual NBA qualified team from, first guy down to the last guy on the bench. So definitely an interesting storyline to follow going into the season. For me, sticking with the Sixers is I want to be excited about the overall defensive chemistry and makeup that is going to bring Al Horford and Joel Embiid on the court together. But you mentioned it last time we recorded, like a week and a half ago. I don't really know how much these guys are going to play together, but they're both guys who you would expect to be on the floor 30 plus minutes a night. They're going to have to play crossover minutes, at least 15 a night. And I want to know what that's like, because I want to know how good of a team this truly is. Last year, we were a starting five and nothing else. This year, we do have depth. Who's going to play with whom? That's something for me right now. And it kind of coincides with your Brett Brown take and your Brett Brown storyline here is, how do these two work together? Both offensively and defensively. Obviously, Horford preferring to play the four, can play the four. How does it work with both of them? So that for me is big.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. And I think that's something that we're all pretty excited about. I mean, Embiid's never had an adversary like that, on the floor, or a proponent. Like, he's never had anyone like that with him on the floor. It's always just kind of been him running around doing whatever he wants. So I think in a weird way that the 15 crossover minutes we're going to get a game with them is going to be Horford kind of like leading Embiid around, still letting him do whatever he wants, but kind of grounded him a bit and directing him a little. And I think Joel Embiid's smart enough and mature enough as a player that he's going to embrace that. And I think it's going to be electric when they're on the floor together.
Man, I hope so. I have my concerns right now that chemistry will work, at least right away. Like, I feel like that this is going to be a curve that's going to take some time. But I do think that of all like the kind of star-ish players, which Al Horford is kind of a star. He's the personality that I think I trust most with a Joel Embiid. Like he's not this big ego and big personality guy. He's just kind of quiet and he's there to do his thing. And I think that at this point in his career, that's going to do a lot to help continue the maturation process of Joel Embiid, both as a person and his skill sets on a basketball court. So to me, again, definitely one of the more interesting storylines to follow.
How while we're on the topic of Al Horford, how do you feel about someone that goes out and buys a Sixers Al Horford jersey right now?
You know what? I think I would assume that it was an Elton Brand jersey and they just kind of ripped the nameplate off.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird seeing the number 42 out there, like, ever, for any reason. And I still hate Al Horford, and I hate that I have to cheer for him, but at the same time, I'm excited. So I think that I would have to just not really acknowledge them. Like, I think that might be the person where I just kind of nod and move on in life.
I agree. I think that's going to be like the hipster Philadelphia basketball fan. They're the only person I can think of that's going for an Al Horford jersey. Maybe not knowing the storyline of how he used to dominate us like over and over again, and how he couldn't stop his stupid, mid-range jump shot, and how
he's never missed it.
Yeah,
ever.
How he's the only person who can shut down Joel Embiid and play with him, like, for some reason, even though athletically it makes no sense. Like, that's why I have such a mental block about seeing him in a Sixers jersey still. Like, I watched a short clip or saw like a couple pictures of him in his jersey and mock-ups and stuff. And I just don't know how to feel. I do not know how to feel.
So I've only seen him in the blue jersey so far.
Okay.
Like, I haven't seen him in I don't know that they're going to use the awful gray Rocky sweat fucking suit jerseys that they wore last year. Those were shit jerseys, by the way. Did you like them? Like,
I did like them. I thought about getting them, and I think the full reason why is because I love the Rocky campaign.
So do I.
They sold me on that. The jerseys, they do look like just kind of fat suits. Like,
yes, they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, to me, you needed to capitalize on the NBA being something that, like, oh, wait, our bench is incredibly active and on TV all the time, and they all who do not play, so like guys 8 through 12 who never leave the bench other than to cheer, just put him in a fucking sweatsuit. Let him stand on the end and put a Sixers logo on it. Let that be the thing. He's like, you don't need to put that garbage out there on the court. It looks ridiculous. Awful.
They are on sale on lids.com right now if anyone's looking to pick one up. I saw it the other day and couldn't pull the trigger on the like $100 NBA jersey. But
see, I can't do that. I can't buy it. It's the only jersey in sports I cannot buy. I can't buy basketball jerseys. Can you? It's just weird to me. I'm a white guy. I'm out of shape. What do you wear with it? Do you wear it over a sweatshirt because it's like semi-cold outside? Do you wear it with short sleeves? If you don't wear it with sleeves, you're a Boston fan. Like, what's going on? I can't do it. It just doesn't work for me. So, I mean, more power to you. But
I have a bunch of basketball jerseys. One of them's Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls like red jersey that I got back in middle school, and unfortunately for me that I can still wear this jersey, but I haven't grown that much since middle school. So it's just kind of tight and like a funny enough throwback, and I get some daps like when I wear it out. You can only wear it when it's like ridiculously hot out and you're sweating your balls off in the middle of the summer. And even then you're wearing it in jest. You can't wear a basketball jersey seriously.
I can't do it, and I can't justify buying them.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Like, a hockey sweater works because I'm a large man, I'm obese, and it hides a lot. I look like a hockey fan. Baseball, I play baseball, so it makes sense. And then Eagles jerseys everyone owns because it's what you have to do. It's just culturally accepted at this point, no matter who you are. Basketball's another thing. Rob, our other guy, he has, I don't know, I think every single cool throwback jersey you can possibly have. Raptors jerseys, old school Grizzlies jerseys. He's got everything. Fucking weird guy.
Yeah, I do have a Joel Embiid jersey that I pull out like a little kid every time I get to watch the Sixers at home, which isn't that often because they're usually playing at 4:00 my time. So anytime I do get home, I like sprint into my closet, like throw it on, and I'm sitting there in like jeans and like a Joel Embiid jersey, and like my roommate comes out and looks at me and is like, "Oh, cool, you're wearing the jersey again, huh?" Like silently judging me a lot.
Acceptable.
Like, yeah.
That to me is okay. Is I do the same thing. College football Saturdays, I run upstairs, I grab my Colt McCoy jersey, I put that shit on, and I watch all damn day. Like, that's okay. But would I leave the house with that? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a weird look.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a grown-ish man. Like, I don't need this. The world doesn't need to see me in this. Yeah. My couch, on the other hand, my dog, my lady, they can all be subjected to the awfulness that is me in an NBA jersey. Or that would be me in an NBA jersey, I should say. We spent a lot of time talking about NBA jerseys. We should move on to the next storyline.
Yeah.
Storyline entering the All-Star break, which hasn't really been a lot of storylines for the Sixers up until last year, kind of, for the Sixers by All-Star break. So what do you got for us?
My storyline for leading into the All-Star break is going to be Ben Simmons making the All-Star break again, and people talking about how he still hasn't found a jump shot. It's everyone's favorite topic. They all love talking about how Ben does not have a jump shot. Well, guess what? You don't magically learn one in 3 months, no matter how incredible these grippy gloves you're wearing or what random shooting coach you get. Like, it's not an overnight process, all right? Over the next 3 years, maybe he'll develop a jump shot. Maybe he won't, but he'll figure his game out a little bit. I'm tired of analysts piling on him already. I think as the week's been a little bit, less turbulent in the NBA, everyone has been talking a lot about Ben Simmons and how he's getting this $170 million contract. We can't even do the math on breaking that down to how many threes he's made because he's never made one. Like, to me, it's a moot point now. Let the kid grow a little bit. He'll figure out his shot.
And why the fuck does he need a 3-point shot?
He doesn't.
You don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the thing to be mad at.
Yeah.
And if people didn't talk about it, who the fuck would care? He's still scoring 17, 18, 19 points a night. He's a walking triple-double threat. He's very good defensively. Like, get off his ass. He's the most maddening person to defend.
I agree.
You can't change anyone's mind about Ben Simmons.
No.
Fuck those people, honestly. It's Ben Simmons making the All-Star break with the grippy gloves and all. I think you should wear them in a game, personally. I
agree. Are there rules against this? Can we get them in there? Like,
I don't know, but like, if it helps them, go for it. Like, if it silences some of the people who shouldn't speak to begin with, I'm about that. I am 100% cool with it.
If Ben Simmons starts magically shooting this year and playing well, I'm buying a pair of those gloves and I'm heading to the playground and I'm showing everyone up and just taking crazy threes. Like, it's a magical cure.
I genuinely just picture you right now like Andre from the league with grippies. And that to me is more than mildly amusing and comical. Yeah. So please, when you're home for this wedding that we have in a few weeks, break out the grippies. Let's go play some basketball. Let's see how that works.
Absolutely.
All right, my story for the All-Star break is I'm dead serious about this one, by the way. Zhaire Smith overtakes Richardson for that second guard spot, and he makes the fucking All-Star game because he's basically Kawhi Leonard. And anyone who doesn't see it yet is just wrong. Like, you're just wrong. Did everyone else watch Summer League? Because I know I did. He's back from his ridiculous health scare. He's having fun. Dude looks like a damn model. Like, I'm all about Zhaire season, and I'm not even joking or sarcastic a little bit. Richardson's a great player. He's a nice player, I should say. He's better than Rocco in a lot of ways. He's going to be a really nice six-man Richardson for us, and Zhaire is legit.
Do we have a sweet Zhaire T-shirt out there yet? Because we need to make one of those. We need to get you one, maybe a bumper sticker or something.
So here's the thing. Rob and I were just talking about today how we're finally going to start taking some of like either our more like outlandish takes or our more like takes that we're just more adamant about for whatever reason, or different typical sayings that we have for each one of our shows, and we're going to start designing merchandise for them. And the Zhaire thing was the very first thing I said. I was like, just so we're clear, I know I'm the Phillies guy, and like I'm kind of work shifting the way through this Sixers show, but we're making a Zhaire team shirt 100%. And it's just going to be like a random cutout and a little mustache, and that's it.
I mean, I'm going to wear that just because no one in all of Southern California will know who it is, and I'm not going to answer them when they ask me. They'll find out soon enough.
They will. He will be this number 6.5 player in the NBA by the end of the season.
Now we're bumping it up to 6.5. Zhaire just got half a player better in the 20 minutes we've been talking.
Look, I'm speaking this into existence. He's going to be about 5.75. Like on most nights, he's going to crack the all NBA starting roster. So I'm speaking it into existence. That shit is going to happen. So biggest storyline heading into the playoffs. This is obviously looking out a ways. The NBA is a crazy landscape right now, but for the Sixers, what is your biggest storyline to follow heading into the playoffs?
My biggest storyline heading into the playoffs will be Joel Embiid is a beacon of health. The guy has been rested. He's looked unbelievable, and him and Al Horford are now a dynamic duo, and people are loving everything they bring to the table. They're dapping each other up in between plays, and they're both smiling all over the place, and everyone is scared of the front court of the 76ers.
I love it, and I love it mostly because it's something I still can't see. Like, I'm predicting this to eventually kind of work out, but I don't know how. Like, I can't see it. But I love it, and I really want that to be the fucking case, because a court with the two of them on it, like I don't know who's scoring against this team. I just don't, and that kind of goes in line with what my take is going into the playoffs. Is I genuinely believe the 76ers are going to be 1 or 2 in the NBA in defense and points against. I think that between their length and their ability to get into the passing lanes, and their ability to kind of create with their athleticism for offense, I think it's just going to be so hard for teams to get into a true rhythm and to set up in a half court successfully, to run any type of fast paced offense against us. I think it's just going to be so difficult when you have guys like, I mean, Richardson's chasing guys down left and right when he was in Miami. He's an athletic freak. Obviously Ben Simmons. I mean, your least athletic person out there is Tobias Harris, and he can hold his own too. Like, then throw in our entire bench. Like, okay, who the fuck is scoring against this team? And I think that is going to be one of, like, there's always those things that the NBA analysts say during post or playoff basketball where they repeat 9 million times a night, and you're like beaten to death by it, and you're annoyed. And people turn those things into drinking games. It's going to be the 76ers defense has led the league, or whatever they want to say in whatever fucking way. It will be that.
I think another thing, too, to add in there is Brett Brown is a defensive-minded coach, and he excelled early on with the process Sixers by making them defensive. So now that he has all the proper tools, he's going to flourish. I mean, I think he's going to have just his pick of whoever he wants out there to run the same kind of defense. All of those guys seem to be like-minded and defensive. It's going to be a story to watch. And like I said, I hope the media, or like you said, I hope the media does beat it to death, because it's going to be true. They're going to be the best defensive team in the NBA.
I am super excited for Brett Brown to have real personnel again. Like, way too. Like, I might get a Brett Brown jersey. Fuck it.
You just gonna get a suit that has Brett Brown, like, so?
Oh, that's a fantastic. I wear nothing but suits. I don't know why I haven't thought of doing that. Like, I literally have to go pick up 2 of my custom suits tomorrow, and like inside the lapel, they always sit there and like, all right, what do you want? Etched in there. I should have put in support of Brett Brown, and I fucked up. I didn't do it. I'm gonna get a nameplate on the back of one of them. So, all right. So we've talked about good things. Now let's talk about entertaining bad things. What do you think is the very first problem that the city is going to get mad at the 76ers for?
I think, and this is contrary to one of the takes I had earlier on another show, I think the city's going to get mad at Tobias Harris. And I think it's because he has a big contract. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of articles of him coming out saying, I bet on myself, I prove that I'm worth it. I think he's going to come out and be a little slow just because he's getting a little older, and he's not like this crazy dude who's going to put up 40 points and shock
He's
everyone.
like Andre Iguodala in terms of scoring. Like, he's a secondary guy.
Exactly. And I think the media is going to interpret him wrong a little bit, because we didn't really get to see much. Honestly, there's so many storylines last year. We didn't even have a chance to sit and talk about him too much. He just kind of showed up, and we were like, oh, cool. Like, you go stand in the corner, and like we'll let you shoot some threes and play some defense. Now that he's coming into the spotlight a little bit, I think he's going to start slow, and then he's going to come into his own and have the career year that I predicted for him.
I was going to say, I couldn't remember if you were the one who said that you think that Tobias Harris is going to have a career year.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious that it is you and that you're saying that he's going to start off slow. I dig that, by the way. Ryan Howard did that in 2008, started off slow as fuck and was fantastic. So it can happen via my baseball analogies. So my first thing that the team is going to get mad at is going to be something that has absolutely nothing to do with the current Sixers team. I think that eventually Markelle Fultz is going to play, even though they have no idea when right now. But I'm saying that within the first few weeks of the season, he will actually suit up and he will score 6 points and we'll get pissed off about it. We will be fumingly mad that he is on a basketball court, even though there was an article that was put out stating that they believe that Markelle Fultz legitimately needs to go away from the NBA for like years, like Ricky Williams style, go smoke weed somewhere where you could just chill out on a beach and learn how to calm the fuck down and then come back and have like a serviceable career. That's basically what Markelle Fultz is going to have to do. But if he comes back and scores even 6 points in his first game, someone's going to be pissed off about it. And because Philadelphia media is brutal, they will overblow that a lot. So I think that before they get mad at anything that genuinely goes wrong or starts out slow within the Sixers' current team and roster, I think they're going to get mad at shit like that. I think they're going to get mad at TJ, sinking a game-winning shot in division elsewhere. Like, it'll be shit like that.
I'm pretty happy you brought up Markelle Fultz because he's someone I don't want to forget. I want to keep eyes on him and just follow him. Like, I think I'm probably one of like 12 people that still has and uses Snapchat. But I follow Markelle Fultz on Snapchat, and I see him going out there, still shooting, still working his ass off every single day. I mean, he maybe doesn't have the talent. He's not ever going to prove himself to be this incredible number 1 overall draft pick. But I am following the guy, and I want him to come out and play and show up a little bit. However, I do agree. I think we're going to be pissed off, and rightfully so. I mean, we got had by Danny Ainge to get Markelle Fultz. Like, we had a lot invested in him. He should be on the court right now.
And we turned him into Jonathan fucking Simmons.
We did. I mean, he's up there. Granted, he didn't have the giant contract, but in terms of giant busts in Sixers history that I can think of right now, and people who were mad
NBA history.
Yeah, I mean, Sixers history, we got Matt Geiger, who's someone who stole a shit ton of money from us, and we will never forget that. And we have Andrew Bynum, who decided to hurt his knee bowling, and just never take us seriously. If someone has an Andrew Bynum jersey right now, I suggest you burn it. But I think there were 3 people that bought those to begin with, so I don't think that's a problem.
Oh, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was insane. Well, I think I'd like to retire here on the East Coast. Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah,
you got everyone excited to never play.
I agree. He's someone that I don't want to follow, but I do wonder where he's at right now. And then we have Markelle Fultz, he's young still. I mean, what's he, 21 now? Maybe 22? Like, he's working hard. There's definitely a chance for him to have a career, but it wouldn't be the worst thing for him to just drop off the face of the earth for a year, maybe, and just focus on his game. Maybe turn Buddhist or something.
Yeah, I don't know. He's so weird, man. So he was at a Sixers game while he was still in college, or I don't think it was yet the end of their college season, but he may have had a game on the East Coast, whatever. And he was at a Sixers game, and a sideline reporter came over, and he was like this like innocent 18, 19-year-old kid who was just like, man, I hope I get the chance to play here. I think I'd be a really great fit. And like, he just seemed like that this cool personality, and he was all happy and bubbly and weird. I keep trying to find this interview, by the way, because this is not the first time I've talked about this. And then he gets drafted, and he's this miserable fuck just standing up there frowning like, yeah, I'm the number 1 overall pick. Like, people traded up to get me a lot, and this is what this is. He was like, he turned into this douche overnight. And I'm like, fuck you, man. If you were still that innocent little smiling, goofy ass happy kid on the sideline of a Sixers game, you'd probably be averaging 26 points a fucking night right now. But you went out and became a jackass. Yeah, so that's kind of what happens.
Yeah,
I mean, think he's going to be good, though. Fuck.
I do too, and I'm torn on it because I kind of like him, and it's hard for me to root against a kid like that who put everything in front of him 1 second, and then the next second he's a historic bust that they're gonna have a 30 for 30 short about one day. Like, I don't want to see that. But
oh my god. All right, so let's move into the last few here before we sign this one off. Best on-court move, whether it's player personnel, addition or subtraction. Who do you got for the 76ers as your best on-court move?
All right, now that I've had time to sit and process this, and I had my J-Bud article come out, I think not signing Jimmy Butler to the max deal is the best thing that happened to the Sixers. We got Josh Richardson. We escaped a giant contract with an aging veteran, and I think he's going to have a bust in Miami, or be a bust in Miami, and they're going to be frustrating as hell. They're going to just be fleeting for the rest of his career, and no one's going to feel bad for him. So I think we dodged a bullet there. Will I be watching every Miami Heat game this year on League Pass? Yeah, probably. I will be. But I think it was the best thing that happened to us. So good riddance, Jimmy Butler.
Man, that is a different tone for you.
Yeah, I have been meditating and thinking on this one for a while, man. It took me a lot to come out and say this.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for it. You're right, by the way, and I'm proud of you for it. Because it is probably the best move for long-term for the 76ers organization. Damn shame. I love Jimmy Butler. I really did. But it is 100% the best move for him. Or for the 76ers, not for him. He's not going to win shit over there.
No.
Best on-court move for me is the doctors who fixed Zhaire Smith. Because I don't know if you're aware, he's going to be the 4th best player in the NBA this year. And the fact that we almost lost him, like not NBA player wise, like lost his life.
Like the world, yeah.
Like the entire existence almost lost and missed out on the gem that is Zhaire. And I just want to thank the doctors who were able to sit there and find out exactly what was wrong and get him healthy and right again. But no, I actually think the my actual answer to that, since I have to be serious to some degree, is I actually think that that Raul Neto is going to be a really, really impactful guard for us, specifically because I did take a look at his 3-point shooting, and while his opportunities were fairly limited due to his minutes, he was an above average 3-point shooter. And again, with the style of the NBA and the severe spacing need the 76ers have with all this length and size they have, I do think that he is going to bring some stability to that second unit. And I actually think he will also be able to play alongside Ben Simmons. And I think that will be a really underrated balance tool to this team. And I think that's one thing that Brett Brown has never had is balance. So to me, it's not the sexy thing, but I think it's a really good move.
Agreed.
All right. So because of I embarrassingly, again, told you this before we logged on. When you sent me the notes, it says beat off court, pop culture related, personal, lifestyle or player, etc. And I had to Google if beat off no longer meant what I thought it meant. And it turns out it does very much so still mean what I thought it meant. And those were very awkward pictures to open up in church. So I'm kidding. I'll go to
delete
church.
your history, and you'll be fine.
For sure. Yeah, I wear the dog tags that say, if I am dead, please delete this. But you were instead stating the best off-court move relating to pop culture types of things like that, personal lifestyles, things of the sort. So for you, what is I actually do have another one. So if you want to use the one that you were originally going to, by all means, go for it.
I came up with a better one, and I'm pretty happy about it. So I one of the things, I'm kind of mad that I listened to it because it sounds like we're copying off of that. But one of the things that Bill Simmons talked about the other day was he's waiting for Joel Embiid to come out and have this like crazy year where he gets in shape and gets serious about his body. Well, guess what? I think that's happening right now before our very eyes. There was an Instagram picture that he put out, him flexing on a beach with his shirt off. You could see some abs in there. He's getting ripped up. I think no longer are the days when he drinks Shirley Temple's pitcher by pitcher. He's got this hot superstar or supermodel girlfriend who's probably eating nothing but kale and carrots and
air.
Like the occasional, like the occasional almond. Like he's got to keep up with her, you know. So I think this is the year that Joel Embiid gets serious about his body, and that's why I said before my story going into the playoffs is everyone's shocked that he's healthy. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's figured it out. I think he has a chip on his shoulder last year. We all saw him crying after the loss to the Raptors, and I think he's ready for it. He's mature, and he started eating salads a little bit in the offseason, so that's huge for me.
Apparently, I also need to begin eating salads. But no, I do think that's incredibly, incredibly important. A healthy Joel Embiid and someone who can take his body seriously. And he does look really, really good. I actually kind of liken his semi-body transformation to that of holy shit, I just said the cornerback's name on the top of my fucking head. Holy shit. Damn. 3rd or 4th round pick like 3 years ago. I'm blanking on this shit right now. I don't know how I just did that. This is the guy that's been beaten into my head over and over again by Connor from our Crossing Borders take. Because he believed, fuck, it doesn't matter. There's an Eagles quarterback who really got himself into screw it. Don't. Apparently, I should be editing podcasts and then delete this part out. But instead, I'm going to let people follow my trip out and can't figure out what the fuck I'm talking about with the Eagles. But yes, I'm impressed with Joel Embiid's body. So good for him. Solid take. Mine is I am going to go with the move for me. I am so glad that. So do you remember like the like mid 2000s and the Phillies had all of these different, the Padilla Flotilla, the Wolf Pack, shit like that. Like Mike Scott and this Mike Scott hive. First of all, they're annoying as fuck, and I can't stand most of the people within it. That being said, I fucking love Mike Scott. And the fact that he interacts with like all of 76ers Twitter and he's showing up to public events and things like that. I have a feeling that like every team goes through like, or almost every team, unless you're like the fucking Warriors, go through like spells during each season where it's really tough to sit there and kind of go through that week or two or a couple weeks of not so great basketball. And you need a personality there. You need something that you can continue to market that is positive, that keeps you coming to those games. And I feel as though Mike Scott and his alcoholism is something to look out for. I feel as though if you are in the first 2 rows of the Wells Fargo Center on any given night, you should be provided with a full drink of Mike Scott's choice. And just know that at any given time, you may have a fun, not really necessary role player fall into you and take a drink from your lap. And I think that is going to be the thing that kind of holds Philadelphia together for that week or two of inevitably bad basketball that every organization goes through. I sarcastically say that, but I do in some part mean it. He is such a fun guy, and I think he is perfect for this team and perfect for this city.
Yeah, I agree. Mike Scott's awesome. The way that he's been talking to people on Twitter right now, unbelievable. Everyone's all excited for the year. They're all very serious. They're focused on their game. He's like talking to people on Twitter, cracking jokes, stealing the Beehive thing from Beyonce and her fans, like, and just embracing it. Like,
hilarious.
I love everything that he's doing. Like, Mike Scott does not give a fuck about anyone. He's happy to be here. He loves Philadelphia. Philadelphia loves him. Let the guy sheesh it up on the end of the bench if he wants to. I'm game for it.
Oh yeah, why not? Let it be a party. Wells Fargo Center, provide everyone with it. I'm cool. Mike Scott is fun. While we have a few minutes, we both had the same one entering into this, and that was Ben Simmons shooting gloves. So I wanted to kind of end on talking about Ben Simmons. We started with him. I wanted to end on him a little bit. For you, the shooting gloves aside, like you sit there and like we've seen all different types of tin cup-esque like slump busting and yips machine fixes. The grippy gloves are weird, but it's not the weirdest thing. Ben Simmons, when you take a look at YouTube videos and highlight videos of his high school game, his LSU game, and then even some summer league shots for the 76ers, he was a willing shooter. It wasn't super smooth, but his elbow wasn't always flucked out the way it was. It was tucked. He looked okay. Do you have legitimate concerns that he will not develop a jump shot?
No, I don't, because to think about like people who've tried to find a shot in recent memory, like Evan Turner's the one that sticks out to me. Who we hired.
He's got an ugly ass shot.
He's a terrible shot, also an ugly ass dude. But we hired that coach from Philadelphia University to teach him how to shoot. And Evan Turner was the 2nd overall pick, I believe, in the draft, and he was player of the year in college. He was
broke his back.
Yeah, like I mean. He was a great story. We were pumped about it. He forgot how to shoot. We get this crazy coach who can't teach him how to shoot. Evan Turner didn't really have a whole lot else in his game. We weren't thrilled with his shooting. We were thrilled with athleticism, the way he led the court, but everything else fell apart, and he also couldn't shoot. Markelle Fultz just lost it all, as we've just talked ad nauseum at already. Like, Ben Simmons has so much to bring to the table already that it's like, hey man, like if you're gonna get a triple double every night and you want to go like 8 of 10 from the floor by taking 3-foot jump shots and layups, like I'm cool with that. That works for me. Let somebody else shoot the threes and shoot mid-range jumpers. You don't need to ever develop that. Would it be good if he developed something that people were scared of and they didn't just let it give him a ton of space? Yeah, it would help his game, and maybe he could like hop in there in the top 5 with Zhaire Smith and get a little bit more respect in the NBA. But I'm not concerned about it. It's a dream of mine. I want to see Ben Simmons draining threes, and hey, I don't know if anyone saw it. He did make a half court hook shot in the offseason, so maybe he pulls that out there in the air. I don't know.
No, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah,
that's a makeable shot in game time.
Steph Curry can do it.
I would probably say 22-ish seconds on the shot clock. Let that one rip. Ben Simmons for me, I think it's the most important thing is just giving someone something to respect, like you said. If they want to collapse in and make him shoot, I just want him to be confident enough to go ahead and fucking pull up and shoot. Shoot from the Al Horford spot. We got the guy. Ask him what to do. That's it. Al Horford's going to end up being the fucking key acquisition to the MB fucking A if he sits there and maximizes both of Philadelphia's young superstars just by showing them what to fucking do. Good for Al Horford in that respect. But yes, Ben Simmons for me. I actually genuinely think that it's going to be an opening night thing, and I think he's going to knock down a few threes. And a few jump shots. I think he's going to come out on fire. Ben Simmons is someone who really strikes me as a guy who kind of feeds off of that you can't do this or you are garbage. Like each of his poorest of nights in the postseason last year were followed up by his best game of the series because it's all anyone could talk about. He beat Jared fucking Dudley out there calling him average, at best or whatever the quote was. He came out and dropped 36 the next night. Like I feel as though he's now hearing this for the entirety of an offseason. He's choosing mutually agreement with him and the Sixers to not play for his national team. He finds it more important to blend with his new teammates, and that, you know, this is all stuff that we need to hear. I genuinely believe that he is not naive to the noise and to the perception of him. And I do feel like he's going to come out night one and show all the new skills that he's got. They're not going to look pretty yet, but he's going to be willing. So I can't wait for Ben Simmons this year. I think this is the year of Ben Simmons and Nolan Patrick. I think the two of them are going to take the very much so needed third year jumps. And it's going to be a good fucking year in Philadelphia, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure that's something that we agree on, everyone agrees on. We're excited about the year, and I'm real excited to see how Ben Simmons grows as a player. It's definitely heavy on everyone's mind. And again, I don't know where all this hate comes from. He's a young kid. He's been in the NBA for 2 years, realistically. I mean 3, but played for 2. Like, he's still growing. Like, I don't know where all this heat comes from. He deserves his contract. He's putting up big numbers. Like, it's everyone's favorite thing to do, but they'll learn. They'll all see.
I hope to God, man, because it is exhausting defending players who are actually good to people who just hate for the sake of hating. It is fucking maddening. So let's go to a final thought here. Scott, you got any final thoughts for us on the Sixers or life in general in California, where it is not raining every 5 minutes?
My favorite thing that I learned today was that on this day, a long time ago, Babe Ruth broke the home run record for, career home runs in the MLB that was sitting at like 139 or something by hitting a 560-foot home run against the Detroit Tigers, who apparently sucked back then just as much as they suck right now.
And I need him to suck for 3 more nights.
Yeah, exactly. Think about that. Think about how Pete Alonso just hit a bunch of bombs. Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit a bunch of bombs in the home run derby. Babe Ruth did it better than all them, and he was way fatter, way more out of shape, and cared a lot less.
There's hope for us all in the sports world. The great Babe.
Yeah.
My final thought is tonight, and as always, is a word from our sponsor at Just Food. It is 215-794-3663. That is 215-794-FOOD. Treat yourself, take it home. It's a catering service, also with an in-shop location in Bucks County, PA. It's in Buckingham Green Shopping Center, just above Peddler's Village, if you guys are familiar with the area. Again, ask for Rob. He will make you whatever it is that you want to eat. Most recently from him, I had bacon wrapped scallops, which is interesting because I love bacon, and scallops I don't understand, but it was delicious together. And he also had crab cakes for us, and Stephanie ate the hell out of those. So Rob and his team over there at Just Food do a phenomenal job of feeding you and making you look like the Babe so that you too can hit 560-foot home runs that set records in the Major League Baseball. Just Food, 215-794-3663. Treat yourself. Take it home. I am Shane. He is Scott. For the Always Next Year podcast, this has been TJ's One of Us, because he is always and will always remain one of us. TJ McConnell, we love you, brother.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a rib or two, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.